Hello, everyone. Nettie Owens with Sapari Solutions coming back with another conversation about what businesses need to know right now. And today I've brought Dr. AJ to share in an interview with us. She is a social personnel, blah, I'm going to start over here. Social personality psychologist and certified professional executive coach. She's also a published author, podcaster, and traumatic brain injury survivor turned mental well-being advocate. And there are so many other things that we can add to that list. I highly recommend that you check her out at the end because, as you hear in our discussion, she's a very well-rounded individual, entrepreneur, and doctor that's sharing with the world. So welcome to the conversation.
Thank you so much for having me. I've been looking forward to this. I'm excited to just dive in.
I know, me too. It's been weeks since we initially talked about it, and I don't think any of the enthusiasm has waned.
Yep, not at all.
So what we're going to talk about today is actually along the lines of diversity, equity, inclusion, and belongingness. Mm-hmm. And I guess my first question is just, what do these things have to do with business? Why are we talking about them in the realm of what businesses need to know?
Well, part of it is everything that's going on in our country right now. 2020 has run us through the ringer so many times over in so many ways, but it's also it's made visible all of these things that we've been sort of sweeping under the rug for 450 years, but really the last few decades as well. Mm-hmm. And the reason this is important for businesses is as we look at population trends in America, especially, we are going to a state where the majority of the future workforce, the future consumers, customers, all of them don't identify as white.
Right.
And so with that being said, if you are not including their perspectives and if you are not giving them access to services, products, experiences in an equitable way in which they feel like they belong, you're really losing out on a lot of profit from the consumer perspective. You're also losing out, if you don't think about diversity, equity, inclusion, and belongingness. And I add all four of those because right now we're still focused on diversity numbers. And we have to get past that.
Right.
The workforce that you are going to have as a business owner, the talent that you would leave on the table by not creating equity, inclusion, and intentional inclusion and belongingness, is really going to hurt your business. And it's going to make it like, this is the only way your business is going to sustain into the future and actually have a chance of being profitable.
Right. So you tagged the word belongingness onto the end, the four words that you're sharing here. And from my understanding as a coach and a leadership coach, a sense of belonging is the number one reason why somebody will stay or leave at their place of employment. And so many times, I think, as business owners, we imagine that if we pay them more, if we give them more training, which is important, and certainly pay is important too, if we do these, if we recognize them for their work, they're going to want to stay. But really, they need to feel like they belong here at the jobs that we're offering them. So I'm excited to see you include that there. And I'm curious about your ideas around belongingness. Like, what does that mean? Especially for the business owner who's like, crap, I thought I could just give my people a raise and I'd be good to go. Yeah. What does belongingness mean?
Absolutely. That is such a great question. And it goes back to, it's a fundamental human need. And it's actually, this need to belong is sort of the origins of social psychology as a whole field. We know that this need to belong is universal. And what that really means is that somebody, a particular person, an individual, they feel like they belong if they are able to include themselves and be included in conversations, in decisions, in informal, the informal, unspoken norms and etiquettes in a company, all of those, because of their uniqueness, not despite it. So that's where the belongingness aspect comes in, because now, like what we know now is that 61% of the US workforce actually covers or hides essential aspects of themselves because they feel like they're going to either be thought about negatively, they're going to be judged, or they're going to be criticized. And that's especially salient in moments of feedback and conflict resolution. They just shut down. So they're not able to bring their whole selves to the situation and thrive and be able to participate, be able to be seen, heard, valued, and appreciated and recognized because of their unique journey. So that's what belongingness is about, is that I recognize that you are different. I recognize your differences and I embrace them. I respect them and I value you because you bring in a unique perspective.
I'm just curious about, if employees, if people showed up as their whole self, what's possible? If you're bringing that story, if you know intimately about the things that your employer is talking about at the market that they want to reach, and you know about that because of your personal experience, and you can share that, how much more valuable would you be to the employer, and how valuable would it be as an employer to have a diverse workforce of people who feel like they can contribute with their whole selves? It's just very exciting. So I'm just curious, there was a question that you suggested that I asked you, and I know we don't have a ton of time. It's probably going to open a can of worms, but I feel so compelled to share it. And so given everything that's happening in America right now, performative allyship, which I just cringe because I'm sure I've fallen prey to this, and I'm also constantly trying to not fall prey to it. But it's something that's coming up a lot. Why is it harmful for businesses' interests and goals to participate in performative allyship as opposed to authentic allyship? And how can we as businesses make sure that we're being intentionally inclusive?
Absolutely. The big harm with performative allyship is it actually erodes trust. Because if all you're doing is just talking the talk and you're taking advantage of the moments where you can sort of slip a few words in and then kind of sit back and relax, people notice that, especially in this age of social media and information being so rapidly disseminated. People notice when you don't have, real deliverables, when you don't have real actions. I think our mutual friend Ruthie actually did a great post about that with, the Stitch Fix statement. So something like that, where you don't have things that you hold yourself accountable for or other people can hold you accountable for, it immediately erodes trust. And consumers are becoming more and more socially and societally conscientious as this movement is happening, and they're it's very easy to recognize performative allyship because you'll see the one or two posts and then there's nothing.
Right. I mean, right now, if the companies that you're working with, or if your company has only made the big blanket letter that every single company provided, a month ago, and you've done nothing else, then, it may be time to look in the mirror and ask yourself some deeper questions. This has been, they're always 10 minutes. This has been the fastest 10 minutes yet. And I'm so thankful that you're here. If folks want to reach out to you, they can find you on LinkedIn, and the link is below. Thank you so much for joining me. And hopefully I can have you back on and we can continue this conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you.